Hello and welcome straight from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next 30 minutes. Ahead of his phone call with Russia's Vladimir Putin, US President Donald Trump posts that he's looking forward to the call and the Ukraine war must end now. Israel says it's still striking Gaza targets after over 400 people are killed in its biggest post-ceasefire strikes. The White House says it was consulted on the move. And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar underscores the need for a fair and robust international order on day 2 of the Raisina dialogue in Delhi. First up, Israel's military has said it conducted strikes on Hamas targets in the Palestinian enclave as explosions were heard over Gaza City in the early hours of Tuesday. Over 400 people have been killed and more than 100 wounded in the strikes. Israel has said that the recent strikes on Gaza are a response to Hamas's repeated refusal to release hostages as well as rejection of all ceasefire proposals. The military mentioned that the Home Command has ordered restrictions on civilian activity near the Gaza Strip following the airstrikes. Schools will also be closed in areas near the Gaza Strip on Tuesday. Danny Danon, Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, has said that Israel will show no mercy to its enemies.
The Israeli Air Force initiated a series of attacks against Hamas targets in Gaza. We will show no mercy on our enemies. Let me be very clear. Israel will not stop until all of our hostages are back home. We will make it very clear to the Security Council that if they want to stop the war in Gaza, they have to ensure that the hostages are coming back to Israel. We are committed to bring them back.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said on Tuesday that the Trump administration and the White House were consulted by Israel regarding their attacks in Gaza that night. Leavitt also added that as President Trump has made it clear, the Hamas, the Houthis, and all those who seek to terrorize not only Israel but also the United States will face consequences.
The Trump administration and the White House were consulted by the Israelis on their attacks in Gaza tonight. And as President Trump has made it clear, Hamas, the Houthis, Iran, all those who seek to terrorize not just Israel but also the United States of America will see a price to pay. All hell will break loose.
And the Hamas has confirmed that the head of its government in the Gaza Strip, Essam al-Dalis, was among the officials killed in the Israeli strikes on the Palestinian territory. Israel has vowed to continue fighting in Gaza until the return of all hostages as it unleashed its most intense strikes since the January ceasefire. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office on Tuesday also said that Netanyahu instructed the military to take strong action following the group's refusal to release hostages and its rejection of ceasefire proposals. The British government called on Israel and the Hamas on Tuesday to implement their ceasefire agreement for Gaza in full, urging all parties to return urgently to dialogue to end the fighting. And US President Donald Trump is set to hold talks with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin over a phone call. Those talks might well be on at the moment. Donald Trump had said that many elements of the peace agreement in Ukraine have been agreed. The talks are scheduled for, well, right about this time itself, and we're expecting to hear on their outcome in some time from now. And the talks are scheduled, like I said, for around about this time, aiming to end the Ukraine conflict with territorial concessions by Kyiv and control of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant as well. And confirming the time for talks between the presidents of the two countries, the Kremlin had said earlier that the phone call will be held between 1300 to 1500 GMT, which is in this period itself on Tuesday. It also said that the talks will be about settling the Ukraine conflict and normalizing relations between Russia and the United States.
It definitely will be from 16 to 18 Moscow time. Indeed, as you know, there have been some discussions. So there is a certain understanding undoubtedly, but there are also a large number of issues related to the further normalization of our bilateral relations and Ukrainian settlement. All of that is to be discussed by the two presidents.
Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha has said on Tuesday that Kyiv was not the obstacle for a peace deal with Russia and believes it can achieve just and lasting peace under the leadership of US President Donald Trump. Sybiha was addressing Raisina Dialogue 2025 in New Delhi. He also said that Russia should accept the proposal that has been agreed between Kyiv and Washington unconditionally.
This war is not about Ukraine. That's why it is also a global interest to achieve just, comprehensive, long-lasting peace. Yes, after Jeddah, we got another speed, new additional opportunities to end this war this year. And we are ready for this. We are not the obstacle to achieve.
And amid the peace deal hopes, a Russian artist has retrieved from storage a combination portrait of both presidents painted on the occasion of Trump's first presidency in the United States. The painting is a combination of the faces of both Trump and Putin with peace written in the lower left corner. The art piece is named as Peace to Peace. And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha on the sidelines of the Raisina Dialogue 2025 on Tuesday. Dr. Jaishankar appreciated Sybiha for sharing Ukraine's assessment of the peace negotiations. The Indian External Affairs Minister said that the inauguration of the new Ukrainian Consulate General in Mumbai today, along with the signing of a protocol agreement on visa-free travel for officials, will further strengthen bilateral engagement between the two countries. German Chancellor-in-waiting Friedrich Merz said on Tuesday that his proposed significant increase in defense spending was necessary due to Russian President Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against Europe. Merz said this in Parliament ahead of a vote on plans that also include substantial new funding for infrastructure.
The circumstances are determined above all by Putin's war of aggression against Europe. It is a war against Europe and not just a war against the territorial integrity of Ukraine.
The Trump administration's removal of hundreds of Venezuelans amid a court battle to block their deportation has ignited alarm that it may have violated the court order barring its use of the Aliens Enemy Act. Let's tell you more about what has happened in this report.
US government is staring at a showdown with the judiciary after his Trump administration expelled alleged members of a Venezuelan gang under centuries-old wartime legislation. A federal judge held a hearing on Monday on whether the government deliberately ignored orders by flying more than 200 people to El Salvador. Justice Department lawyers told Judge James Bosberg that the deputies had already left the United States when the judge issued his written order barring their departure. White House said use of Alien Enemies Act was justified as Trump had declared members of the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang as a foreign terrorist group. Rights groups have now warned that the wartime legislation could be used as cover for mass deportations without due process.
We had serious concerns going into the day that the government violated a federal court order. Today did nothing to dispel it. If anything, it reinforced that our view that the government may very well have violated this order, perhaps even knowingly violated.
Venezuela has denounced the treatment meted out to its nationals as fascist and a massive violation of human rights.
They handcuffed them without telling them where they're going. And when they arrived in El Salvador, they got them off the hard way. They humiliate them by throwing them on the ground. They shaved them. Do you call this justice? Do you call this international law? Do you call this human rights? How do you call this? This is called fascism, Nazism, and Venezuela is ready to denounce this massive violation of human rights against honorable migrant workers in the United States.
The Alien Enemies Act was last used in World War II to intern tens of thousands of Japanese Americans. Further, President Trump also claimed he had annulled pardons issued by his predecessor, Joe Biden, on the grounds that his Democratic predecessor supposedly used an auto pen for his signature. Bureau Report, DT India.
And as a backlash, Donald Trump on Tuesday called for the impeachment of the judge who halted deportation flights of alleged Venezuelan gang members. Trump criticized the judge on Truth Social, his own social media platform, calling for his impeachment, accusing him of being part of a group of crooked judges he often faces. Let's now take a look at some other stories making news around the world as well. Activists held vigils and protested in The Hague, calling for former Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte to be punished to the full extent of the international law and the international court's ability for his war on drugs campaign that killed thousands of people. Hundreds of migrants were evicted from a cultural center in France by the police as they protested against the action. The migrants had been staying in the center for the last 3 months. They later left the center peacefully without any use of force or any clashes. A blast at a scrap metal shop in Thailand killed 1 woman and injured 4 others. The blast took place during the sorting of the scrap. The area has been cordoned off and authorities have warned residents to stay away. The incident is under investigation. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Moldova's Foreign Minister Mihai Popsoi highlights thriving relationship between India and Moldova in a DD India exclusive. And Foreign Minister of Ghana Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa thanks India for including Africa in the G20 group.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has underscored the need for a fair and robust international order. Speaking at the Thrones and Thorns Defending the Integrity of Nations session at the Raisina Dialogue, the External Affairs Minister stressed the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity, calling it a vital principle and a bedrock of global rules.
After the Second World War, the longest standing illegal, I would say, presence, occupation of a territory by another country pertains to India. What we saw in Kashmir. Now we went to the UN. What was an invasion was made into a dispute. So the attacker and the victim were put on par. Who were the culpable parties? UK, Canada, Belgium, Australia, USA. We speak today of political interference. When the West goes out into other countries, it's apparently in pursuance of democratic freedoms. When other countries come into the West, it seems to have a very malign intention.
Further, Dr. Jaishankar underlined the need of a strong as well as a fair UN, adding that a strong global order must have some basic consistency of standards.
I think we need, if to have an order, there must be fairness. We need a strong UN, but a strong UN requires a fair UN. A strong, a global order must have some basic consistency of standards. We have military coups to our east in Myanmar. They are no-no. We have them even more regularly to the west. You know where? They seem to be okay. So I think it's important to audit the working of the world for the last 8 decades and be honest about it, and to understand today that the balances, the shareholdings in the world have changed. We need a different conversation.
United States National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard delivered the keynote address at the ongoing Raisina dialogue in New Delhi on Tuesday. Gabbard expressed her delight at returning to India, praising the country's warm culture and rich history. She emphasized the enduring strength of the US-India partnership, noting that it has stood the test of time for decades.
It's been a constructive few days where I've been engaging with our Indian counterparts. The partnership between our two countries has been strong for decades, and under the leadership of two great leaders and true great friends, President Trump and Prime Minister Modi, and rooted in our shared values of peace and freedom, security and prosperity, I'm confident that this partnership and friendship between our two nations and our leaders will continue to grow and strengthen.
And Gabbard further noted that President Trump's America First policy does not mean America alone.
So just as President Trump is committed to America first, putting the safety, security, and freedom of the American people at the forefront of his policies and his decisions, Prime Minister Modi is committed to India first. Prime Minister Luxon is committed to New Zealand first. This is the expectation of any leader's commitment to their people, to serve them, to put their interests at the forefront of their decisions. But this should not be misunderstood to mean that America first is America alone. The relationships that we build together are critical to advance our mutual interests.
In an exclusive conversation with DD India's Akshay Dongre, Moldova's Foreign Minister Mihai Popsoy highlighted the thriving relationship between India and Moldova. He emphasized the significance of the Indian diaspora in Moldova, describing it as small but vital to the cultural and economic ties between the two nations.
We are at India's premier geopolitical summit, the Raisina Dialogue, and with us we have the Foreign Affairs Minister of Moldova with us. Sir, thank you so much for speaking with us and welcome to India. First of all, I would like to ask the question about this dialogue and how it is emerging as one of the most important geopolitical events around the world. So how important do you think this event is?
Indeed, I'm quite impressed by the participation. It's really a lovely atmosphere of dialogue here, and I would like to commend India, Minister Jaishankar and Prime Minister Modi for being such strong, powerful voices for peace and stability in the world. In the Republic of Moldova, we strive for the same. Moldova might be a lot smaller than India, but we have a lot of things in common. We want peace, we want stability, we want for our citizens to be able to benefit from what civilization has to offer. And we have very close ties, and we are building stronger partnerships and ties with India, which is very beneficial for both sides.
So as far as PM's vision is concerned, of an era of peace, he has said that this is not an era of war. The countries should be striving together to bring peace around the world. How do you see this? How does Moldova see this?
We certainly welcome these initiatives, and we share them. Moreover, we want to be part of these broader initiatives, and in the Republic of Moldova, we've been always welcoming of our friends.
What are the core areas that you think that can be worked upon?
One of the avenues that is on our agenda nowadays is to have a direct flight to India that would help very much those wonderful Indian students and business community to be able to come to the Republic of Moldova and vice versa. Cooperation in the agricultural sphere. We've just reached an important agreement so that we can bring to the Indian market more of our agricultural products, which Indian consumers appreciate a lot.
With camera person Akshay Dongre, DD India.
And in another exclusive conversation with Akshay Dongre, Foreign Minister of Ghana, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, highlighted the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's role in promoting the Global South. He thanked India for including Africa in the G20 grouping. He also emphasized on the development and said that billions of dollars has been going into wars, and this should be used to uplift societies.
We are at Raisina Dialogue, the premier geopolitical summit of India, and we have with us a very special guest, the Foreign Minister of Ghana. So thank you so much for speaking with us and welcome here in India. First of all, sir, I would like to know about your opinion about Indo-Ghana relationships and what are the areas that have a lot of potential to improve.
Well, it's great to be here, and let me commend the Ministry of External Affairs in India for putting this together with the ORF. Raisina is in its 10th year, and it's becoming really the most important place to go, particularly for South-South intellectual discussions on the future of our cooperation. And in terms of Indo-Africa, Indo-Ghana relations, it's at an all-time high. Remember that we are now chairing the G20. South Africa has assumed the presidency. Africa Union is well represented now, and I must salute India for championing that in 2023. It's an expression of the solidarity that exists between India and Africa.
Mutual respect as far as India and Africa are concerned, because Prime Minister Modi has championed the voice of Global South, has said that South has to come together and to assert more. As far as climate is concerned, economy, war, as you have said, PM has also said that this is not an era of war, this is an era of peace. So how do you react to that?
I have to commend Prime Minister Modi. I mean, he has been the champion of South-South cooperation, and we love him in Africa because he really values the African people. He listens to our concerns, and he's always forming partnerships. He's always uniting, and he's always, in solidarity with us. I salute Prime Minister Modi, and I look forward to him meeting my President Mahama, so that we can deepen our ties and forge closer relationships.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're
welcome.
welcome.
That was the Foreign Affairs Minister of Ghana speaking to us about the Indo-Ghana relationships and how both the countries and their leaders champion peace over war. With camera person Sumit Naudiyala, Akshay Dongre, DD India.
And also on the sidelines of the Raisina Dialogue, DD India's Jessica Taneja caught up with Sweden's Minister for Foreign Affairs, Maria Malmer Stenergard. Take a listen.
What are your few key takeaways from the Raisina Dialogue this year, given the kind of geopolitical climate we're living in?
Well, in difficult times, you really need good friends, and India is a very good friend of Sweden. We have been collaborating for a long time, and I see great potential to deepen our relationship in many areas, such as trade, and I'm thrilled about the negotiations between the EU and India on a free trade agreement, but also on investments in digitalization and in green development.
The current initiatives that India and Sweden have undertaken have expanded beyond just the traditional sectors. Where more can we see cooperation between the two, apart from what we see already within the EU bloc?
But I believe there is great potential in the green transition, like I said, but also in the 5G and 6G, we have prominent companies working. But I also believe that in defense cooperation, there is a lot more we can do together.
And Jessica Taneja also caught up with the Secretary General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Estonia, Jonathan Seviov. Take a look.
How would you say Estonia and India are playing a crucial role right now?
Well, so first of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, my first time here. What a conference this is. Everybody's here. This could very well be India's century. The world needs India, wants to hear your voice, and the world is coming here to have these conversations with each other and with you, to promote our interests and also to understand what India wants to achieve in the world. Its strength, economic power is only increasing, And we, as a small country, are hoping that India will use its increasing power on the world stage to stand up for international law, for stability and predictability.
Which sectors of cooperation are we looking at, even when you talk about trade or people-to-people ties? How are we moving in that direction?
I would name two things: high tech, everything that's related to digital development. India is making a name for itself on the global stage in this area, as is Estonia. And the other is education. Education, where size is not as important as the quality of your educational system, where both India and Estonia have a lot to offer each other.
And that's it for the moment in this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. You can scan the QR code on the screen and download the app right now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.